The undefeated season rolls on, folks. Indiana taking care of business in a professional,
Taking care of business. Yes.
emphatic, dominant way against UCLA, 56 to 6. No problems outside of the goofy interception to start the game. Once again, after turning it over, Indiana scores a touchdown on the following immediate possession. And they took it from there. The fun, underdog, plucky, exciting story of UCLA got stuffed in a locker and thrown into the ocean. Indiana won 56 to
Huh.
6. The Hoosiers are now 8-0, 5-0 in Big Ten play. 4-0, just kidding. Wait, no, 5-0. I was right. 5-0 in Big Ten
5-0.
play. Kurt Signetti has this team marching along, and up next is Fort Maryland. And should be easy, right? Should be. Yeah. Matt and I will dive into this matchup and so much more here on episode 353 of the Hoosier Sound, where we're the official podcast of Indiana HQ. We're recording this edition of the Hoosier Sound on Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Here I am, your host, Nathan Krishnan. With me today, as usual, is my normal co host, Matt Lukens. Matt, we are in the good old days. Indiana's 8-0, number two in the country, jockeying for a CFP bye. Looks like Ohio
Mm.
State's coming up in the Big Ten championship game.
Mm.
But, but, think we might be looking a little too far ahead of ourselves here. Just talk to me first about your initial reaction to Indiana's win over the Terps, and then, I'm sorry, over the Bruins, and then are you a little nervous about this Maryland matchup on Saturday?
Yeah, you're alluding to something I kind of spoiled to you before the podcast. But
You could say
yeah,
no.
we just
It's gonna be great.
I could say no,
It's gonna
but
be
I
easy.
don't know. I can't I'm not gonna lie to our lovely viewers and listeners. No, so one obviously fantastic win against UCLA. I mean, they were the fun pick for the weekend for everybody to be
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. They
Indiana is
were.
gonna be an upset or
Oh, you're gonna have
you
a lot of
know,
conversations if Indiana loses this game.
any illusion this game, yeah. And then we went out and properly dismantled them. Like that was a manhandling
Yep.
of manhandlings. Their offense really couldn't do much outside of Nico scrambling. Um, and then their defense really looked like, honestly, and I'll give them credit, their secondary's good.
Yeah.
Their secondary's good. Their
Yeah.
secondary gave IU more trouble than Oregon did
Yeah.
in many facets of the game.
Yeah.
And man, it's just IU just kept running the ball down their throat the whole game. And eventually, their defense is out in the field for so long and so many plays, and then they're starting to see the cracks. But at the beginning of the game, I thought they were putting up quite the fight. Um, they were really physical. Their secondary was very, very physical, which
Yeah.
I some people find frustrating to play against, me included. But I have the utmost respect for teams that are going to go out there and be like, hey, if you're going to call us fouls on us for pass interference, for being physical, okay, but we're still going to be physical with you,
Yeah.
right? We will take those 15-yard penalties just to make you have to work for every single yard you get. And I respected the heck out of that from UCLA. I thought Fernando Mendoza had one of his better games in a Hoosier uniform. Even though he threw a lot of incompletions, a lot of incompletions meaning more than like four, because usually he's so darn accurate. But I thought, especially on that the EJ Williams 65-yard touchdown,
Yeah.
um, just just so composed, so ready, so many plays that game where he was just like, I'm gonna put my body in the way of harm, and like I don't care, I'm getting this first down. Couple of runs, that throw, I really respect it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think when he doesn't get hurt, it's great, you know. But especially in maybe in this Maryland game when, hopefully things go right and we're up 40, you know, maybe he's not doing, running for first downs. That would be nice. Against Ohio State, sure, be my guest. Like put your body on the line, like pretend like it's the last game of the season. But Maryland, I think Alberto could handle Maryland. All of that bravado being said that I just came out of my mouth, um, I am a little nervous of this because of this game. Again, I don't know how many you looked this up before you went on the podcast, but I don't know how many
Yeah,
times Maryland has hosted a number two team in the country that's not named Ohio State or like Michigan or even like
it's pretty rare.
um Penn State, right?
Yeah,
Like when is the last time that they've hosted somebody that isn't like a blue blood of the sport, right? It's been a long
yeah,
time, right? Um you
yeah.
have to think back maybe
There
Iowa
was
coming
there
in
was an
there.
Iowa game back in 21. Iowa won easily. I think that was the season where,
But were they number two in the country?
ooh, they
Right? Were they
were.
top
I
five
think
team?
they were number five.
Okay, okay, okay. But again, it's been almost 5 years since they had this opportunity where somebody not named Ohio State comes rolling into Maryland, and when Ohio State goes to Maryland, they sell out most of that crowd for Ohio State fans, right? It's
Yeah,
basically Ohio State home game in Maryland. I expect Maryland to have a decent crowd. I mean, they have a fun team. They have a fun young freshman. They have a
yeah.
couple of really good freshmen on their team. Um, that I actually hope stay at Maryland and stay there long term, even
Yeah.
though in an NIL era asking somebody to stay at Maryland when you could go to Texas A&M and get a
Yeah.
dump truck full of money put in your
Hey,
in your pocket,
or
it's
Indiana,
a
Matt,
hard ask.
or Indiana,
Uh,
or
I mean,
Indiana,
yeah, of
Matt.
course. I mean,
I
we've
mean,
taken
uh,
some of our rosters from Maryland from last year,
yeah,
and they're fantastic. And it's a bit little bit not revenge for them, but a little bit of a homecoming, right? I mean, they Hemby and
yeah. Kellen Wyatt, he's injured,
linebacker
obviously.
Wyatt,
Yeah,
Kellen Wyatt. Yeah, I
injured,
mean, two
unfortunately.
guys that were they went to go play for Maryland's head coach, Mike Locksley, and decided to move
Mm,
on to Kurt Signetti, and now they're going back and playing
mm.
against Mike Locksley. A little bit of an awkward. Again, another thing that I'm looking at, I'm just kind of like this game makes me a little uncomfortable. Whereas if I had looked at Maryland on the schedule before the season, I go, okay, but they don't have Tualia,
Talia, yeah. Ty
Tualia
Felton,
anymore. Talia, and I'm Talia. They don't have
yeah,
Ty Felton.
yeah.
Like I'm looking at them, I'm like, all right, this is
They
this
don't have
this should be
Hemby.
one of those like I'm Hemby, right? Exactly. It should not that it should be a cakewalk, but it should be significantly easier of how compared to how Maryland games have gone in the past for us, especially since what we've lost three of the last four
Yeah,
against
I
them.
mean, we beat them
Right
last
now,
year,
that
and that was tricky
that's
too.
we beat them last year. Exactly. So again, this game to me smells like a trap game, especially since we got a trip to Happy Valley coming up in 2 weeks' time. Right. And so it's just about, you know, hopefully this team is continuing to commit to Kurt Signetti's idea that you take it 1 week at a time, one game at a time. This game is going to put it to the test. Because again, you're coming off of your previous home game, beating the crunches out of the crypty crappity out of UCLA, and now you're going to a Maryland team that really has nothing to lose. Like if they come out here and they drop, they get 60 points dropped in their head, everybody's gonna be like, well, just Indiana's good,
Yep,
right? If they come out here and they make it a game, well, they have everything to gain because,
yep,
again, a lot of people think this Maryland team sucks still, even though they do have a couple of nice wins on their record, right? Or they've been competitive in games. They
yep,
gave Washington, who's a good team, a
yeah,
scare. They
yeah.
they lost to UCLA in a weird game. Like they're a very competitive football team. They have good freshmen. They have star players, and I just feel like this is a game where, call me daunted, this is a game where I can just see the Hoosiers' mental slipping a little bit, and I don't like that.
Mm,
I don't
mm,
like being in this situation. I don't. I like being the IU,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
IU has
I
always been
mean,
in the situation where it's like Ohio State's coming down, maybe we got a chance because they got Michigan on the schedule next week or
that's the
whatever,
hilarious. I
whatever.
mean, I'm so
So
happy you mentioned that. It's literally the situation Indiana's been in for every single season until last year. right? Where, obviously the
Yeah.
Cincinnati era began and has taken off rapidly from there, but we have done this frequently in previous seasons, especially when it's, a top five team that, has that is not the Ohio State tier. And I'm including Michigan in that. I mean, even like there are top five Michigan teams that would come into Bloomington,
Mm.
where I sit there and I
Yeah.
go, well, I mean, look, come on, why not? Let's have some fun. Remember Cincinnati when they came into Indiana? It's a highly ranked team
Mm.
in 21, and Indiana gave them everything that you could possibly ask for until Micah McFadden got ejected for targeting.
Yeah.
This Maryland team has a lot of intriguing players. We'll dive into that in a little bit. Just to cover off on the UCLA game, just recent trends I'm seeing that are catching my eye. Um, Over the last, the two-game homestand, I love seeing some of the new faces contributing to what IU's doing this year. I just feel like it's a really critical signal when you're trying to win a national championship that you can win games in a variety of different ways. And we knew early in the
Mm.
season Indiana could win games through Fernando Mendoza, through the trenches, through the passing attack to Surratt and Cooper. But as the season went into the middle, sort of the mid season push, Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, we learned Roman Hemby was a key factor. No surprise there. We learned that Indiana's mental toughness grew several levels through that middle season stretch against Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon. Recently, though, we've seen Kalon Black have a couple of big games. We've seen EJ Williams have a couple of big games. Riley Nowakowski, I feel
Mm.
like, has grown. We've seen Charlie Becker do a couple of good things on the outside as a receiver. How about Aiden Fisher housing that pick six to start the game? We know who he is, but hey, seeing that
Mm.
scoring mentality, that takeaway mentality coming through there. Devin Boykin, huge game against UCLA, the NC State transfer super
Yeah.
senior, really delivering. Of course, after Kellen Wyatt went down, we were sitting here saying, all right, we're going to need some D line pass rush to step up. We're seeing it. Tyreek Tucker, Jose Wheeler, saw some snaps for Dominique Ratcliffe. Of course, the linebacker pressure from Isaiah Jones or Elijah Hardy. Just a lot of new faces, a lot of new factors. I'm sure I left out a few, but you're seeing, when you start seeing, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised in the next few weeks if you saw a couple of different ones. I don't know. If I were to predict, maybe Holden stays, tight end, does a couple of things that you don't expect coming up
Yes.
here in the next several games. It's just, you never know. I mean, well, Kurt Signetti, Kurt Signetti called out Mikhail Kamara, so I'm nervous for Malik Washington and for Penn State's backup Burmeister. Is that
Gronkowski, Gronowski. No, no,
Grunk,
it's
that's
something
Iowa's
ridiculous. That's
Grunkmeyer,
Iowa.
Ethan Grunkmeyer.
Grunkmeyer.
My
Yeah, see,
bad.
it's
To
Grunkmeyer,
his
Gronkowski, it's something like that,
to
bro.
his
I'm telling
family
you.
tree. Yeah. Of course, we've seen Lewis Moore do some big things, but and as I mentioned, Stephen Daly. But hey, you know what? Maybe it's Mikhail Kamara really splashing here coming up in the next couple weeks. Maybe it's like a guy like Holden stays on offense. Of course, the unsung heroes, the offensive line. I said earlier, Indiana was winning games through the trenches. The offensive line continues to do great things. It's great to see some of the unsung heroes step up here over the last several games because there is a lot of internal competition. Kurt Signetti will give you snaps if you prove it. Charlie Becker's putting the receivers above him on notice. Um, you got to, Kobe Martin is putting the running backs ahead of him on notice if he ascends, right? All of a sudden if he plays well, Kurt Signetti, Mike Shanahan will be like, "Well, look, this is merit-based stuff, man. We're not playing politics. We're playing
Yeah.
football. And if you deserve more playing time, if you deserve more reps, you get it." And then, as you saw in the case of the Kellen Wyatt injury, if someone goes down because they're hurt, you really do need someone. You have no option. You have no choice. The next player has to step in there and deliver. So great to see some of the new faces do good things. Um, it's something that I feel like the programs that are looking for a head coach right now really struggled at doing the last few years. Because schools like Florida, Penn State, LSU, even Virginia Tech, they've had elite players at the top of their depth chart. Right? We've talked about DJ
Yeah.
Lagway, Anthony Richardson, Florida. We've talked about Drew Aller, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Mike Abdul Carter at Penn State recent years. But like
Yeah, big players, big
they've
time
had
players.
great, what happened? Football's not a one-on-one game. It's not a two-on-two game. It's why Ohio State has had so much success over the years. They throw waves of players at you. Everyone's ready to go. Everyone's prepared. Everyone's ready to step on the field and make a big difference. And it's pretty clear to me
Mhm.
that Indiana has stepped into that as well. Again, IU, the second ranked team in the country in the AP polls, the highest ranking in school history. Ohio State, I think, deservedly number one, but some of the metrics are swinging the pendulum over to Indiana at number one. Bill Connolly's S&P Plus did that. So we live in that type of universe where you can make a
It's an insane place to be, by the way.
statistical argument that Indiana is the number one team in the country. Uh, Matt, let's play a little trick or treat here. All right, let's play a little trick or
Let's do it.
treat, and
Nice.
then we'll fully
Nice.
dive into the Maryland matchup a little bit later, because there are definitely some fun X's and O's to talk about there. Um, but talk to me, Matt. A lot of coaching changes taking place in college football. It wouldn't be surprising if a couple of more huge jobs opened up. I mean, you could be talking about Texas, you could be talking about USC, you could be talking about several others. Um, Trick or treat.
Yeah.
Indiana is going to lose an assistant to a head coaching job this upcoming off season. Trick or treat.
Do I? I need stipulations on what trick or treat means. Is it true or false? Is trick false and treat true? Because I don't want to say
Sure,
treat for this.
sure,
It's
sure,
not a
sure.
treat
Good
losing.
question. Great question, Matt. Uh, yeah. Treat, treat, treat is true. Trick is false.
I
So,
guess we're getting the
so,
treat of losing maybe
ah,
both of our coordinators.
man,
You don't, you don't,
you
you
don't want to
don't,
see
you
it.
like
You don't want to
Bryant.
see it.
I don't want to
Yeah,
see it. No,
yeah.
no, I absolutely don't
What
want to.
about
Bryant
Shanahan
Haynes
though?
at Bryant Haynes 100 million% deserves a shot, not only at a head coaching job, but screw like he doesn't need to go to UAB, right? Bryant Haynes should be the next head coach of like Virginia Tech or like um
That would be
when
such a good fit if they could make that
heck
happen.
Florida State or like
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah,
yeah,
that
Florida State
organization.
might be open.
North Carolina, are
When
they open again
well,
in the off
here's a
season?
great one. Here's a fantastic one. You take a player in Lewis Moore who was at IU, goes to Ole Miss, you bring him back, you fix him. Lane Kiffin goes takes the LSU job. Why shouldn't
Ooh,
any Bryant Haynes be in the mention for the Ole Miss job? Like
ooh.
why shouldn't Bryant Haynes be in the mentions for maybe even the LSU job? I don't think there's a reason why this guy he's the best coordinator in the country. And I will stand on that. That this defense is excellent. The players that they are using to make this defense excellent are not 5 stars. They're not 4 stars. They're a majority 3 stars, and he's getting the absolute most out of them. And God forbid you give him a good offensive coordinator, what might actually happen if he goes, and becomes head coach? He might like we might be looking at Bryant Haynes in about 3 years' time, the way we look at Kalen DeBoer
Yeah.
now. And I know a lot of people have, you know, and some, and like
Or
I know
even
some people
like
have crapped all over Kalen DeBoer, but I think Kalen DeBoer is doing a fantastic job in
it's
a place where you cannot win. He
yeah.
is filling in the shoes of the greatest coach in the history of the sport. You cannot live up to expectations. It's impossible, and he's still doing a fine job. Alabama's a top 5 team this year. There's a dang good chance they might win the SEC this year,
Yep.
given that A&M, it's A&M, they might lose. So like I think he's doing a wonderful job at Alabama, and I think some people really don't give him the credit that he deserves because again, he's following in the footsteps of the greatest coach in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, think about
and
someone
I
like
think
Clark
we'll
Lee
be
at
looking at
Vanderbilt, right? Like Clark Lee at Vanderbilt has a defensive
precisely.
past, and look what he's doing there.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
balling out. I
Exactly.
mean,
But we're going to be looking at Bryant Haynes in 3 years' time going, this makes sense, right? We saw how good he was as a coach firsthand here. And I think Bryant Haynes is definitely getting a lot more credit than Kalen got when he was at IU because, again, the stage IU is at, the national stage they have been put upon is much higher and much more prestigious than what stage IU was at in, what was it, 2019,
yeah,
right?
yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
2020,
because it's
right? Like,
multiplied essentially, right? Because you get everything that happened in 2019 and in 2020, all the success, all the winning. And
mm,
I mean,
mm,
Mike Locksley even mentioned it the other day. Like this run of wins across 24 and 25 kind of started with the Tom Allen run in 19 and 20. And Indiana infiltrated
yeah,
the top of college football with Kalen DeBoer and with Kane Womack and with Nick Sheridan and with Michael Penix. And now you're kind of building on that. So,
yeah,
I also think Brian Haynes finds a job elsewhere. If he doesn't, I think that's a sign that some of the old guard of college football has really lost a step. Um, if that does happen, I'm very curious to see what Signetti does as far as the D coordinator spot. Pat Kuntz to me is the natural next man up, the defensive line coach. But I do wonder, Signetti did go outside the four walls to bring in Chandler Whitmer to be the QB coach this past off season after
yeah,
Tino Sunseri went to UCLA. So I don't know. We'll see if Signetti does go that route. Would love to see what his plan is there. Trick or treat, Matt. Indiana is gonna play Ohio State twice this season.
great. We're gonna play them once. We're gonna beat them, and then we're gonna play them again in the national championship because they're the second best team in the country. I'm dead serious.
It's in play. It's why I mentioned it.
We have a home game in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. What should be a home game. If you live in the Indianapolis area and you are not at that game as an IU fan, and you let an Ohio State fan take your ticket, I don't want to hear you complaining about ever going to any
Yeah.
game ever again. I don't care. I don't care. You have to be there. I live on the other side of the world. I would be there in a heartbeat if I didn't have to take 18 hours worth of flights and take off 3 weeks of work just to be there. I would be there.
It's only a
What's
matter
your
of time.
excuse?
It's
Be
only a
there.
matter of time before there are Big Ten football
How many
games.
times are you going to see them play in Indianapolis for a Big Ten championship? Pay the money.
Well,
Buy these stupid people from Ohio out of their tickets, please.
I mean, it's a good question you ask because like Signetti is now the third highest paid coach in college football. Um, he's not going to be a top five head.
Deservedly so.
He deservedly, but that's going to change in a matter of like a month. Like he's going to be like 10th in a month once Lane
Yeah.
Kiffin gets his
Yeah.
deal, and so on and so forth. Um, Even with that said, like there are a lot of great programs, really outside of Ohio State. I think it's really just Ohio State that have. hit bumps in the road over the last several years. Over the last several years, I mean, look where Michigan is now compared to when they won the national title. And by the way, Michigan before they won the national title across the 2010s wasn't exactly a great, 11 win team every year. LSU won a national championship a couple of times, and now they're going through
Mm.
turmoil. Like, you could do everything right in college football and still win 7 or 8 or 9 games in a season. So you don't know.
Mhm.
You don't know when Indiana will be a top two team again or in the Big Ten championship game again. And that's in a situation where you do everything correctly. Never mind the bottoming out of 21, 22, 23 that we saw at IU. But like, even if you
Yeah.
push all the right buttons, none of this is guaranteed to happen for several more years. So, you know, two Ohio State games is in play. A second Oregon game is in play. Um, There are some goofy tiebreaker things in the Big Ten if Ohio State loses to Michigan or if Ohio State drops a game before the Big Ten title game. It feels like the only spot where that would happen is the final game of the regular season at Michigan. So we'll see what happens
Mm.
there as far as that's concerned. Trick or treat, Matt. Even if Indiana loses to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, they'll get a first round bye in the CFP.
I would love to say treat,
Sure.
but I'm gonna have to say trick. I
Think I
I
agree with
think
you.
the I think the playoff selection committee is going to do everything in their power to kiss the blue bloods butts.
Oh. Ugh.
And IU is not one of them, and you'd be going up against,
SEC champ, whoever that
maybe
is,
an SEC champ, right? You're going up against Big Ten champ.
right?
Let's say it's not IU, right? Which would be
Georgia
Ohio
Tech,
State.
undefeated Georgia
Um,
Tech, not a blue
they're gonna lose
blood.
a game.
Okay.
They're gonna lose a game.
It's got to be a second
But
SEC team.
then you're gonna have you're gonna be a second SEC team like A&M,
Yeah.
right? And A&M's oil money, right? And maybe Big 12 champ, right? Texas Tech, same thing.
Yeah, sure. Could be, could be. Now, what I would say is I think the scenario where the SEC gets two teams is if Texas A&M is undefeated going into the SEC title game, and that's where they lose. So then in
And they
that
lose to
case,
Alabama or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
because remember, A&M has banked that non-conference win over Notre Dame. So, if Bama runs the table after their week one loss to Florida State, they're sitting at 12-1 with an SEC championship. A&M is 12-1 with a loss to
With
Notre
a
Dame,
loss to
with the loss
Alabama
to
and
Alabama, and
with
they
a
beat Notre Dame. Yep.
win over Notre Dame. Yeah. Yeah. And they both would get it. And then you're
Yeah.
probably looking at another conference championship making it.
Yep.
Unless IU wins that, I don't see them putting two SEC teams and two Big Ten teams and giving them both the buys. I just don't see them
Yep.
compiling all four buys to two conferences. They're gonna find some way to finagle
Sure.
IU out of it because IU is the lesser of the four brands. And it's
And
just what it is.
just to be clear, the rules compared to last year have changed a little bit. It's just the top four teams in the country that get the bye, according to CFP committee last year.
I still think that I still think they're going to if IU is at that point 11-1
Yep.
and you have a 12-1 conference champion, I think the 12-1 conference champion gets in over IU regardless of if they think they're better or not because they're going to give them they're going to technically have the better resume even if they don't.
Well, and you
But
could still have a 13-0 Georgia Tech. I mean, it's probably not likely,
yeah,
but it's
that's
in the
also true,
conversation.
right?
Like
Yeah.
13-0
Yeah,
Georgia Tech is in play.
an undefeated ACC champion is not getting a bye.
I mean,
Like,
look, by the way, just to clarify there, in case this changes your mind, an undefeated Georgia Tech includes a win over Georgia at the end of the regular season. So there is that.
That does change my mind a little bit, but
Yeah.
that changed my mind like a tiny bit. But I even if they didn't have the Georgia win, I still think an undefeated Georgia Tech would be ranked above IU, but just because they're an undefeated conference champion from a Power
Okay.
Four pro like conference.
Yeah. So there's
I'm
that. And by
sorry,
the
there's
way,
never in no actually if Georgia Tech goes undefeated, wins the ACC championship, and Alabama beats Texas A&M in the SEC championship, Georgia Tech should be two.
ooh, behind the Big Ten champ. All
Right.
right. Okay. By the way, the committee
And
might
then
look at.
now my college football 25 video game simulations don't look so crazy when I have IU playing Georgia Tech in the national championship. I'm like, this would never happen. This would never happen ever.
You ready for a five Indiana versus 12 JMU college football playoff matchup?
That would be spicy. But again, think about that, right? Think about the storylines for that and just
Yeah,
tell me the committee is not
slobbering.
salivating to
Yeah,
put IU at five. Slobbering. An IU home game against JMU where we get to obliterate them and their very, very, very annoying fan base would be wonderful.
it's in play.
That would be a great opportunity. But also, I
JMU.
don't want to be five. I want to be one. I want to be one. I don't want to be five. I don't care
Oh
about
no,
being
yeah,
five.
for sure. We might throw another
Five
trick
is
or
actually
treat
the
out
worst
there.
seed.
Yeah, yeah,
Five is, I'm
it
going
is.
on line.
Yep,
Five is the worst seed. Five
yep.
is the worst seed in the entire playoff.
Lose twice, get the 9 or whatever, get the 10 or the 11.
Literally, get me off that one line. If we're losing Ohio State, I want off of playing them again because they're a
Yeah,
juggernaut.
yeah. Your
If they
rationale
beat
there,
us,
right,
there's no one
is
else on the schedule.
is that the four is pretty tough, especially now that it's not just conference champs that are getting buys, it is the top four teams. So you face the fourth best team in the country, and then you got to play the number one team in the country, and that's Ohio State. You don't want why face them in the second round. So that's basically
Mm.
your justification there, correct?
Because I don't want to
Yeah.
face them in the semifinals. I don't want to face them until the championship game. I want to be the opposite side of the bracket as them.
Yep, makes total sense
Give me the
there.
give me the give me the one spot. Give Ohio State the four spot, or give Ohio State the two or three spot, please. Thank you.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
We might have a trick or treat or two coming up before moving on to Maryland here. But first, it's time for Who Won the Week this past week in IU sports. And hey, Indiana men's basketball, folks. Good stuff from Darren DeVries and the gang in the exhibition win
We're back.
over Baylor. It was fun
We're
to
back.
watch. The style of play was easy on the eyes. Team basketball, good passing, good movement up and down the court against Baylor, a team that should be somewhere in the 30s or the 40s when it comes to the college basketball rankings this upcoming season. I wouldn't anticipate Baylor getting into the top 25 at least without having to win a few games. Um, it was still easy on, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was fun to watch. A lot of threes. Very good performance from the free throw line. Lamar Wilkerson is filling up the stat sheet. Buckets everywhere for Lamar Wilkerson. Tucker DeVries doing a lot of good things on the court. Tate Connerway, Trent Sisley. Yeah, it's just, you know, season starts next week. Marquette comes up a week from Sunday, I believe. Good
That's
stuff all around.
crazy. What in the
Yeah,
world?
yeah. United
Dude,
Center.
what is happening? Where's time going?
There you go. Matt and I were talking before hitting record last year. It's like the bar graph you see flying around Twitter every so often. The hype and the expectations bar was, very, very, very tall. Then the actual result performance was very, very,
Yeah,
very small. This year it feels
very
like
low.
maybe
Yeah,
the opposite could be happening. And again, it's an exhibition game. You don't put any stock into it. But
I think definitely the opposite is happening.
what I will say,
I would
what I
like to
yeah,
put a little bit of stock into it. I would like to
yeah,
put a little bit of stock into it while we're
okay,
talking about, not to
okay,
interrupt your
okay,
segment,
go for it.
but but I think this team is going to be really, really fun to watch. They're going to shoot a bunch of threes. They're going to play with good offense. They're not going to be able to rebound the ball for shit, but that's fine. and they're going to be, like the perfect example of this is the Kevin Wilson IU football teams.
Okay, sure.
Where it's like they're going to score a billion points. Will the other team score a billion points off of offensive rebounds or not? That is the question. If they don't, we win the game. If they score more than us, then we lose the game. That's usually how the games work. But like this year, it's going to be actually for real, right? Like th- this team is going to have some of the best offense. It's going to play like a team we have not seen in the Big Ten, maybe ever, right? They play like an
Yeah.
SEC style of like run and gun offense
Yes.
and playing hard-nosed defense, but not exactly like with a classic five man who's got a billion rebounds and
No.
blocks and
No.
like slow pace. Like they're going to be flying around the court. They're going to be gambling for steals. They're going to be shooting a bunch of threes
Yep.
and they're going to get beat a lot. But by God, is it going to be fun,
And
right?
yeah,
And it's going to be
Indiana.
so fun to watch this team play.
They showed some resilience this year. There are a lot of games here, whether it's Puerto Rico or Baylor, where they've gone down by double digits, and unlike previous teams we've seen in Indiana, they are fighting. They're for hitting right back. And again, in this Ken Palm era and the what's his face era, totally blank. The net ranking era. There you go. I got too many,
The
too
net
many.
ranking and the
I got
what's
too
his
many
face
I
era
got too many abbreviations in my head.
in his what's his face
I was
era is
like
crazy.
FPI, CFP, ACC.
And
I was like, none of those.
you're going through all the
I was like
acronyms.
RPI. That's not right. It was just like bang, 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 bang,
The
bang.
in the RPO era.
Yeah, the R. Yeah, Mendoza great with RP. Yeah, in that net ranking
Yeah.
era, margin of victory matters, margin of defeat matters. So hey, even if you lose, scratch, claw back, make it close, make it interesting, so that the metrics don't kill you. So overall, the stuff that I'm putting stock into, and you're right, you kind of caught me there. It's not like I'm totally throwing this out. Just the visual, just the style of play, just the making of the free throws. Um, Big Ten basketball is usually
The
filled with
little
a
things.
bunch of close games, and free throws matter. And if you go 20 of 21, that's better than going 13 of 21.
Also, this Baylor
Ah,
team that just played is very promising, and I know we beat the
yeah.
Tennessee team, and people are gonna be like, "Well, we beat Tennessee last year, and you said they were gonna be good." Um,
Wow. I understood every
I mean,
word.
you're right. You're right. You're right. Like we did say we were going to be good. Then
What
we
is
ended up
it?
not
What is
being
it?
good,
The
and then
haters, the haters couldn't have gotten it more correct.
they could not have gotten that more correct. Really, shout out to the haters.
Yeah,
Really,
shout out to the
shout out to
haters.
them. Shout out to the haters. They knew exactly what was going on. They were on top of their game, and honestly, you just got to give credit where credit is due.
Yes.
They knew exactly what was going to happen with IU basketball last year, and
Oh
you know what?
man.
Hat tip.
Yeah, salute to the
No,
haters.
but what was I gonna say?
Ooh,
No,
I
this
don't
this
know.
Baylor team has some serious talent on
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah, they are good.
and
Yeah.
this IU team is a bunch of former mid-major guys, and they played like a team who had been told the every single practice for the last 3 months, you are not talented enough, you don't play hard enough, you do not work hard enough. They don't think you can play on the same court as them,
Yep.
and they play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're gonna play like that the rest of the season, and it's gonna be so much fun.
Scott Drew's a good coach. Indiana beat him. Man, hey, you'll take that every day of the week. So that's where that is. Shout out to the Hoosiers. Looking good. Season opener coming up on is it Monday or Tuesday? Coming up. And then the Marquette game is a week from Sunday. And I'm just gonna say that Marquette game, the over cannot be high enough. Um, for the Hoosiers against the Golden Eagles. Yeah, Alabama A&M's on Wednesday night.
Golden
That's
Eagles.
a BTN game, and then yeah, Marquette Sunday. Again, yeah, the over under cannot be high enough. Folks, a reminder: if you enjoy our show, leave us a review, tell a friend, share our links. Your support really helps us grow this podcast and reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. If you want, you can find us at Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at Indiana HQ, or at the Hoosier Sound. Matt, let's hop right into this Maryland game. I'm sure A lot of folks are excited to hear more about the Terps, because why not? Indiana is a 21.5 point favorite for Saturday's game in College Park. The over-under is 50.5. So that's something like a 35-14, 36-14 Indiana win, according to the computers. 3:30 start, CBS with Brad Nessler,
Mm.
Gary Danielson, Jenny Dell. Expect a
I'm
good
starting to
amount
like
of
them.
aerial drone shots. CBS loves doing that. So
Yeah.
hopefully Sekou
It looks
Stadium.
dope.
Yeah. Sekou
Sekou
Stadium.
Stadium. Maybe
Sekou.
people can find you in the crowd.
I'll be there. Wearing cream and crimson. It is
Yeah.
it is not that much money to get a ticket to Saturday's game. And that is a subjective comment, but
Really?
it is it is a couple of
What
sandwiches,
full disclosure,
cou-
how much did you pay?
couple sandwiches and
Full
sodas to get
disclosure, how
in.
much did you pay?
It was like 30 bucks. It's
Was
like
it
30 to get
under
in.
was it oh I was about to say was it under $50?
It's
Because if
it's
it's under $50, you're
th
basically paying for a movie ticket at that point
30 to get in
nowadays.
and it'll be a movie. Yeah, 30, I would say like 30 to get in.
There you go.
Maybe even 25. And the weather's going to be great Saturday College Park, which you love to see when you're the favorite. I don't know. I don't want to
Yes.
get too deep into this, but basically, bad weather increases the chaos factor, increases the variance factor. So when you're a favorite, you want it to
True.
be as clean as possible. Give me sunshine, no wind, clean grass to play on. It's why
Right.
like the great NFL teams, when they're at home in the playoffs, I think of the Bills, I think of the Packers, they've gotten upset. Like they've gotten upset at home because, and that includes Kansas City going to Buffalo and
Because the
winning a couple
weather
years ago.
sucks,
Yeah, and all of a
right?
sudden it takes
Yeah.
you out of everything that you've done correctly to that point in the season. And I'm sure you can find a counterexample of a team winning a playoff game in cold weather in the snow, but in general, clean
It
weather
happens.
reduces the variance. You want it to be sunny, and that's exactly what it's going to be in College Park on Saturday. Um, Maryland is the weirdest team in the Big Ten. They have not faced a top 25 opponent yet. Um,
Insane. Bro, what is this Big Ten
they
schedule,
have a
bro?
true freshman quarterback. Who does that in 2025? They have several awesome
And he's good.
they have several awesome NFL prospects across the depth chart. Their offense is kind of a mess, except for the true freshman quarterback. They can't run.
Yeah, true.
They are across the
Well,
board close to the bottom of the country at success rate running the ball, EPA per play running the ball. They can't run the ball. Michigan
insane.
State. Michigan State was better at running the ball than this Maryland team. Maryland lost to UCLA the week before Indiana played them. Their best player, safety Jalen Husky, was ejected in the fourth quarter of that game for targeting. Maryland had a bye week, which means Jalen
Mm.
Husky is out for the first half of Saturday's game against Indiana. He'll return after halftime for those of you that are interested in that sort of news. The Terps have three losses this season. All of them have been by one score. There isn't there is a realistic alternate universe where Maryland is 7-0. We're not too
Yep.
far from that conversation. Washington, Nebraska, UCLA, they were right there. Just couldn't push it across the finish line. But then
That is
again,
also the three best teams that they've played.
you read my mind, Matt. You know what Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, Towson, Wisconsin, Washington, Nebraska, and UCLA have in common? That is
Not having
Maryland's.
winning
Well,
records.
and that's just Maryland's schedule, right? So you don't hear Ohio State in
Yeah.
there, you don't hear Oregon in there, you don't hear Iowa, Michigan, Nebraska. I'm sorry, Illinois, USC. You don't hear those teams on Maryland's schedule to this point. They will face Illinois
No.
and Michigan after they play Indiana on Saturday. As you look at this matchup, Matt, it's so weird. It's almost like a non-conference game. There's nothing you can take from Indiana's win last year over Maryland and apply it to this year's matchup. And frankly,
Nope.
especially on the Indiana side of things, that is, Mike Locksley can take some stuff from last year's game. Indiana is very similar to the way they play in 2025 compared to what happened in 2024. Maryland, yuck. It is all over the place. I mean, they are so different than they were last year. They're unique, they're different. Like, what's what are your initial observations on top of what you said earlier about this matchup coming up on Saturday?
They're just feisty and they play hard, Maryland does. And they compete. They haven't played anybody good, and I think IU can just outmuscle and outclass them in every facet of the game. But if this is a one-score game at the end of the game, would not be surprised because again, they haven't played a game where they've lost that hasn't been a one-score game. They have made all of these games significantly uncomfortable for teams that are significantly better than them. So, um, I think they're playing over their weight. I've always thought that Mike Locksley is a good head coach. I have always been a big proponent of Mike Locksley. I, you know, I think he's playing with a very similar war chest at Maryland that IU has. In fact, I think IU probably has more money in NIL than Maryland
Oh,
does.
for sure. Yeah.
Like, and I don't think that's a crazy take. Like,
No.
I think he's working with a lot less than
Yeah.
even like a Tom Allen had when
Big
he was
time.
at IU, and is doing an amicable job at Maryland, and he's been there forever, and he's waging war in the SEC. So I appreciate that what him doing that. And yeah, I do think this is again going to be a very, very scary and sketchy game, and I think you all should be mentally prepared to sit down on your couch on Saturday afternoon and watch
Mm.
this game be in, a little bit of jeopardy until about at least 4:30 in the afternoon. So give
My
them about an hour.
block off your
Give them about an hour
calendar.
being
I
block
thought you
off
were
your
gonna.
calendar for about an hour.
I thought you were gonna say like the fourth quarter. I thought that's what you're gonna say. And you said 4:30.
No, 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 no.
I mean, look, this Terps team is the number one team in the country as it relates to turnover differential per game. They're decent
That's
up
pretty good.
front. They're decent up front. They can do some good things. Um, I don't know. There is no comparison. Like, I don't know. Malik Washington does not play the game like any quarterback Indiana's seen this season.
That's
But
the
even
thing too. That's the thing
yeah,
too. He plays the game in such a unique way.
they
And
call him
again,
yeah,
he's a freshman. So it's either going to be he's never seen anything like IU's defense before and he absolutely poops himself, or he's going to see IU's defense and be like I and gain some confidence and all of a sudden we're going to have an absolute terrorist we're playing against. And I don't know what it's going to be.
yeah. I don't know either. I will say he did have his worst game of the season against UCLA, which was the Terps' most recent game. Um, and as I mentioned, the Terps are coming off a bye, so they'll be a little bit more rested than this Indiana team. Although you might argue Indiana had a bye last week. Um, the other thing that sort of the other thing that it sort of caught my attention is that Malik Washington really struggles when he's under pressure. The PFF grade for Washington when he's clean pocket is in the 90s out of 100, but when he's under pressure, it's in the 40s. So Kellen White's injury is a pretty significant deal here. You certainly hope that the improvement from guys like Stephen Daly, Jose Wheeler, Tyreek Tucker, Dominique Ratcliffe, and the guy that Signetti's called out, Mikhail Kamara. You hope that their improvement and their good play and effectiveness travels on the road. to College Park on Saturday. If you see guys in Malik Washington's face, that is almost an immediate signal that Indiana is going to win. Even if it's on the opening drive and Maryland ends up scoring, for example, or even if on the first couple of drives they end up scoring.
Yeah.
Remember, Indiana went down 10-0 to Michigan State last year in East Lansing. If you see guys in the face of Malik Washington in those drives early in the game, that means Brian Haynes is
Yeah,
pushing all
freshman
the
QB
right
is not gonna be able
buttons.
to deal with that. And
And
also, a freshman QB cannot deal with that stuff. Like go look at Arch Manning and what he's doing at Texas, right? Arch Manning has been under pressure at Texas, even though they have a decent offensive line, but just SEC schedule or whatever. And yeah, I mean he's been really struggling up
yeah.
until the last couple games. So just expect to that would be a bit major win for the Hoosiers if that does happen. I think, which it could. I just
Yeah.
something about this Maryland team scares me, and I don't know what it is, and I don't like that it does.
It looks like Maryland, uh, on their defensive side, is a team that you can beat in different ways. Washington's Damon Williams in the game where the Huskies won at Maryland. Damon Williams threw for 275. He went to his superstar receiver in Denzel Boston, who had 6 for 71 and a touchdown. Meanwhile, Nebraska used a balanced approach. Dylan Raiola threw for 260. Emmett Johnson, who's an excellent running back for the Huskers, he ran for 176. And the Huskers ended up putting up 450 yards of offense on the board against Maryland
Hmm.
in that matchup. UCLA, again, they also did it with a balanced approach, just disciplined football from UCLA. Maryland sort of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times in that true road game for the Terps, even though Malik Washington ended up having a pretty good game. So Matt and I will predict this game, maybe dive into some other Big Ten games of the week, and throw out any other notes and nuggets here in just a sec. But first, I want to give a social media shout out there. And just a reminder, folks, if you enjoy our show, again, leave us a review, tell a friend, share our links. That kind of support really helps us grow this podcast, reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. When we see something come across Twitter, for example, we'll retweet it. Anything you put out there on X, like we got our eyes peeled. So you can follow us Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah,
YouTube at Indiana HQ or at the Hoosier Sound. Matt on Instagram or at Indiana HQ, but what are we?
Indiana.HQ.
That's right. You can
We've been
find
that way for a long
us. You
time.
can
If you don't
find
know that
us.
now, it's your problem.
You can find us there. Um, when you think of Indiana on the offense here, Matt, we've talked a lot about Maryland's offense going up against Indiana's defense. When we look at Indiana's offense here against the Terps' defense, what do you think is going to be the headline, the top priority, the main point of emphasis for Mike Shanahan, Kurt Signetti, Fernando Mendoza, and this offense on Saturday afternoon?
Get Waffle House the ball. That is going to be it. Get Omar Cooper the ball in space. Get get Waffle House in space. Get these guys, get our playmakers in space against the this defense Maryland has. And I know they have a good corner, but I don't really believe in him all that much given the fact that they really haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
You were talking about Lakai Rowland, who
yeah.
I'm not kidding when I say this. He has given up an NFL passer rating to this point of 14. And that's out of
Yeah.
158. That's out of
That's
158.3.
that's extremely good. That's way better than anything D'Angelo Ponz is doing. D'Angelo Ponz is getting All-American nods. Like, yeah, this guy's insane. But I still think throw at him. I don't care. You're the better team. You have better players.
Well,
Like,
that's why it's exciting to me that
take
UCLA
him down a
did.
notch. You need to do it for D'Angelo Ponce.
Yeah,
Do it for our guy because you
yeah,
take him down a notch. That's one less contender for the
yeah.
Thorpe Award,
Yeah,
right?
Thorpe Award, all Big Ten first team. Um,
Exactly.
when Lakai Rowland has been targeted by opposing quarterbacks, those QBs are 5 of 14 with 2 interceptions. So that's the type of play we're talking about from Lakai Rowland. Other good defensive players on the Terps include Jamari Glasker, linebacker Daniel Wingate. So keep an eye out for them. Um, Glasker, the other corner, has done a very good job in that same category, similar category to Lakai Rowland. And of course, as we mentioned at the top, Maryland safety Jalen Husky is out in the first half for
Yeah.
targeting. So when he returns in the second half, the Terps defense will have an extra weapon in the secondary to keep an eye out for there. And that's why I think it's exciting that UCLA did put something on tape last Saturday. Hey, if we press Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, it might be difficult for Fernando Mendoza to get them the ball. So hopefully Indiana's adjusted to that. And if they haven't, then you start seeing the complementary pieces really come into play with Hemby and with Black and with Nowakowski and with EJ Williams, Jonathan Brady. We'll see Indiana roll out the artillery there as far as the complementary pieces are
Mm.
concerned. Um, it's a good defense for Maryland. They are undefeated under Loxley when they allow less than 20 points. So if Indiana scores less than
Yep.
20, we will be ringing the alarm bells. No question about that. Matt, as you look at this game, as I mentioned, Indiana is a 21.5 point favorite, projected to win by something like 36-15, 35-15 in this game. According to the sports books, who do you have winning this game and by how much?
I got IU winning this game, and I'm gonna put my metaphorical family jewels on the table. Um, and say everything I talked about this game being scary is hogwash, and blasphemous, and say IU wins by a solid score of 47-7.
I can't
You're
read you
welcome,
today, Matt.
everybody.
I can't read you today, Matt. You're really keeping me
I
on my
worked.
toes.
I had a terrible day at work today. It's
I
11:30 at
like it.
night.
I like
My
it.
brain is split into two different directions. I'm starving. I'm ordering food right now.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I'm on my toes. I'm on my toes here. Um,
All right, what's your prediction? What are you going? What are you going with?
31-17.
Oh, they're
I'm
scoring a lot of points on us
I'm
for some
I
reason. That's 17 points is a lot of points.
I know. I
A lot of
know.
points for offense is just a quarterback.
Yeah. 34-17.
If we're in trouble in this game, it's because this game is like Iowa and it's 20-17 final score. It's not because they're Maryland scoring a lot of points, by the way. It's not happening.
Something about this Maryland secondary is popping to me. Like it's popping off the page. I'm sitting here, I'm just like, is there gonna be like a fumble that the Terps force that, they return for a touchdown or at least recover deep in Indiana territory? Is there a big play or two in this game from Malik Washington? And I do really agree with your point that like this is a, you know, major hype up game for Maryland, right? It is a huge game. Underline, highlight it, circle it on the calendar. We finally have a top 25 team coming to our place, let alone a team that's number two in the country and was way worse than where Maryland was just,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years ago. And by the way, last year, I know there were some fluky plays that went Maryland's way last year, but it was a close game last year. I mean, Indiana did do a lot of good things as far as the yards per play type stuff that the analytics people care about. But at the end of the day, it was a 14-point final, and that's what Kurt Signetti cares about. And Indiana was right there. I mean, that was a close
Right.
game in the second half. So, and it was in Bloomington. So, here, Maryland end of season is going to, just because of the way their roster is built up, Maryland at the end of the season is going to be better than Maryland at the start of the season because they got a lot of young players who are learning on the job. And I think this
Mm.
one could get a little, I don't know, like, I agree with what you're saying. I think it can get a little weird, a little hairy. Um, could there be a big play? Could there be a hot start for the Terps? I don't know. These are the things that I'm sort of looking at. I still have Indiana winning 34-17, so, it's not like Alabama going to South Carolina and eking it out at the end. So keep that in mind. Matt, Indiana, Maryland.
Keep it in mind.
Indiana, Maryland is one of six Big Ten games on the slate for Saturday. Um,
Let me
oh yeah,
pull it up.
and all six games are on Saturday. There are no Fridays this week. There are no Sundays this week. There are no Thursdays. Um,
Nice.
a lot of good matchups on the table. The only three significant point spreads are Indiana, Maryland, Penn State, Ohio State, and Purdue, Michigan. It's like there aren't that many like UCLA Indiana's or recently we saw Minnesota Ohio State. Like it doesn't feel like we'll get any one of those games this weekend. But as Matt and I like to do, we usually like to dive in, give out an upset pick or two, a point spread pick or two, over unders. Matt, anything stand out to you as far as
We
your
should keep track.
Ooh,
We
we
should keep
should.
track of
All right, I'm gonna write this
our
down.
scores on this. We should go back.
Ready?
We should keep track from
Who
now
you
on.
got? Talk
All
to
right.
me.
So I've got Purdue covering against Michigan.
Okay.
I think
Are you
this
sure?
Purdue team shoots them. I swear to God, this Purdue team shoots themselves in the foot over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But they get to a point where they think they might have hope to win a game and then lose it. A 22-point
Yeah.
spread is
Yeah.
not that.
Okay.
They're losing this game by 14 after having it tied in the fourth quarter. I don't believe in this Michigan team at all. I think they're phony. They're frauds.
Wow.
I also like Ohio State to cover 20 and a half against Penn State. Everybody and their mother is putting money on Penn State. Penn State is walking into a slaughterhouse. Okay, they are cattle being sent out to pasture. This Ohio State. Let's make sure everybody's on the same page. Does everybody understand the beef between Ryan Day and Jim Knowles? Yes, they do not like each other. There was a bad divorce. Even after they won a national championship, that's how bad it was. There still was a bad divorce. They won the national championship. They do not like each other. Jim Knowles is still employed by Penn State, is still
He
the
went to
defensive
Penn
coordinator
State. I
at Penn
mean,
State. He went
he
to
took a
Penn State
lateral
from
move.
Ohio State.
Lateral
And
move.
it's not even just that. It's not even just that. Ryan Day is like putting out statements, like the political kind of statements you say, where it's like, yeah, he's a good guy, but things didn't work out at the end. That is coaches speak for. I hate this guy's guts. I hope he gets hit by a bus, right? Ryan Day is going to see this Penn State team and is going to want to make them feel the pain and the agony and the angst that he had against their own defensive coordinator and their coach. I could see Ohio State putting up 70 on Penn State
Ooh.
just for fun because they have Ohio State this year has not put the pedal to the metal in a game, especially on offense. They haven't shown out in a game quite yet. They've
True.
beaten teams quite handedly.
Yeah.
They've beat them quite dominantly.
Yeah.
They haven't beat them with a hammer,
Yeah.
IU Twitter speak. They haven't beat them to death with hammers, and they haven't done that to a team yet. And I feel like Penn State is the awaiting victim of said hammer beating. That's just
Fantastic.
gonna happen. I'm sorry.
Fantastic. I like what you had there. I have Minnesota covering against Michigan State. Minnesota -3 is what I'm seeing right now. Um, Michigan State just came off of I feel like two sort of knockout punch games in the sense that,
Yeah.
you know, they did all right against Indiana in the first half, and then the Avalanche came. And then they did all right,
Capitulated. Yeah.
and they did all right in the first half against Michigan, and then Michigan sort of finished the job, comfortably took it from there and won easily in the rivalry game. This just reeks of Minnesota. PJ Fleck's been there for a long time. He's gonna defend his home field and do it with style, especially coming off of a loss where Minnesota got wrecked by Iowa. Like I think PJ Fleck's gonna have his team locked in, ready to go X's and O's. I'm gonna take Nebraska to beat USC. straight up. Upset city. Um, it's
I
just
don't like that pick, but go
road
off, King.
USC with Lincoln Riley just ain't the same as home USC under
Yeah,
Lincoln
but
Riley.
but I get that, but they're going one, maybe two time zones over. They're not going three.
I need a documentary on dropping a bunch of entitled USC players and coaches into Lincoln, Nebraska for a night.
Are we
Every
labeling
single one.
USC players as
Every single one.
really?
Coaches too.
I mean, they're California kids, but that doesn't mean they're
Every
spoiled.
single one. You know what USC stands for, Matt? The S
Well,
literally the S literally stands for spoiled. And the C is
University of Spoiled
children. It's children. Yeah, yeah. So
Children. Okay. I don't know what the C word was going to be, and I didn't want to be. Look, man, I work with a ton of South Africans,
Ooh, no, I'm
Australians,
not
and
going there.
English people.
No,
I
no, no.
don't want
Cool, cool,
to,
cool, cool, cool. No, not going there, not going there. But like they're gonna land in Lincoln, Nebraska on what, maybe Friday, and they're just gonna be like, man, what's going on here? And then they're gonna walk into Memorial Stadium in Lincoln on a night game where Nebraska knows that Matt Rule is being in the coaching conversation. Nebraska did a good job beating, Michigan State and Northwestern recently. They haven't had that postcard, poster, picture, image, beautiful night game under the lights until Saturday night. And I think they're gonna. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be pretty. I don't think they're gonna smash them, but I think Nebraska's gonna win. So those are my two picks. I have Nebraska upsetting USC and Minnesota covering -3, and we're gonna see how those go. Um, and then we'll have more for you. We'll have more for you next week, and then maybe into basketball season as well. We'll see how that goes. Any other thoughts here on this Thursday, Matt? We talked, the football program's off and running, 8-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten. I think that means what? Kurt Signetti is now 18-2. Is that right? As a head coach at Indiana?
Mhm.
19-2. My bad. 19-2. It was 11-2 last year, 8-0 this year. 19-2. The head coach at Indiana. And that means, by the way, he's also 13-1 in Big Ten play. Crooked numbers.
Not bad.
Crooked numbers.
Not bad.
Any final thoughts on your end as we wind down here on this Thursday?
Um, nah, not really. I
Did I
mean,
miss
basketball
anything?
team might.
Yeah,
I don't want to miss anything. I am excited for basketball season to start up a lot more than I think some Hoosier fans
I love it.
are, given,
I love it.
given that they're, some of the fan base is a little bit jaded from,
Perfect.
7 years, it feels like, of torture.
Limited penalties.
Um, with maybe 1 year with Trace Jackson Davis, that was really awesome, and that's about it.
Yep.
Um, I think it's a new era. I think IU's got a coach, like a real good coach,
Yep.
like a really, really, really good coach, like maybe a top 10 coach in the sport that plays a
Hey.
fun style of basketball, whose teams really compete, who has a really likable story this year with a bunch of guys that were overlooked by major programs. You start with Tucker DeVries.
Yep.
Um, and you end with like the likes of Lamar Wilkerson and Reed Bailey and Josiah Miles
Yep. Nick
and Hayton
Dorn. Yep.
Conaway amongst them, Nick Dorn. And we haven't even seen Nick Dorn play in a uniform yet.
Exactly.
He hasn't played a minute, right? Um, and so this team has a lot to offer. They're going to play a different style of basketball than normal Big Ten basketball. We're not going to be banging people
Yes.
down in the post,
Yeah.
banging with people down on the
Yeah. Yeah.
post,
Sure.
not
Sure. Sure.
banging
Sure.
people
Sure. Sure.
down. I hope
No.
they're not
Close.
banging people down
Close
on the
enough.
post. I mean, look,
Close enough.
they're 18 consent, if that's up to them. But I hope it's just not on my TV screen. Um, Anyways,
Sure.
enough innuendos
Uh,
aside. No, I think this team's gonna shoot the shoot the crap out of the ball. Um, and they're gonna shoot the ball so much, the rims and Assembly Hall better get worked on every single half because if God forbid they're missing that night,
mm,
the rim's gonna get a lot of work.
yeah.
But I mean, the sign to me that was the biggest sign of future success was the 24 out of 25 free throws
Yeah.
in the game against Baylor.
Yeah.
Only missing one free throw, which was the last one. Going almost the whole game without missing a free throw as a team is fantastic, and that includes guys like what's his name? I can't be
And
forgetting
right.
people's names at this
Reed
point.
Bailey,
Uh,
Trent Sisley,
Not Bailey.
Tucker DeVries, Sam
Transfer from
Alexis,
Florida.
Sam Alexis.
Sam Alexis. Even Sam Alexis, who's a historically terrible free throw shooter,
Yeah.
making all of his free throws. And so again, I think this is a sign of taking care of the little things. The staff takes care of the little things.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, obviously football's having one amazing
Yeah.
season. I will try to communicate better with Nathan so that we will do podcasts more often. That is my fault, guys. That's no one else's fault.
All good.
That's mine. Problem
No
with trying to juggle
time
living
zones.
halfway across the world,
Yeah.
time zones, and having a girlfriend.
Hey.
So all of that stuff is, yeah,
Crazy.
thank you, thank you.
Crazy.
All of that stuff is hard, but um, you guys deserve a podcast. We deserve to absolutely talk
Whew.
about this IU football team until
Man.
my voice goes out. So,
Man. 8-0. 5-0 conference play, including wins
yeah,
over Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon. Saturday is gonna be awesome. Indiana should win,
it's gonna be
even
a movie.
though it might be a little bit goofy. I don't think I have anything else that important. No, I think I've covered it off, folks. That about wraps it up for our 354th show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your support. To hear more fantastic episodes like the one you heard today, be sure to follow us at Indiana HQ at the Hoosier Sound to make sure you don't miss any in the future. You can also go to our website, indianahq.com, to find it all in one place. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we will see you next time.
Peace and love, go Hoosiers.